Gentlemen, you think of Studebaker as a car. I think of it as an institution. I think of it in terms of happy homes, schools, churches, stores, of 7,000 loyal working men, their wives and children. I think of it not only with reference to South Bend, but with reference to the hundreds of other towns, cities, mines, forests, and peaceful countrysides, whence come from the ends of the earth the raw materials which, by the magicians of this great age, are molded into beauty and usefulness for the service of men. I think of Studebaker in this way when times are good and people happy. But I have also thought of Studebaker when orders were few and work was slack and anxiety etched the faces of Studebaker men and women. I was present at the writing of a great page in the industrial history of this nation when Studebaker men turned what seemed certain defeat into a stirring victory. I refer, of course, to Studebaker walking out of federal court with its chin up, the first successful reorganization of a major company since the Great Blight of 1932. In my post at Washington, I had the happy privilege of doing my small part in making Studebaker's chimneys smoke again. But the chief factor in this successful reorganization was Studebaker's great tradition. Her name was greater than riches. It had become one of the great trade names of the globe. It had values that men thought must not be lost. Studebaker for 80 years had marched with even pace with Carnegie, Bell, Westinghouse, Baldwin, Frick, and the other giants of free enterprise. There are three distinct periods in Studebaker history. The first, the Studebaker Brothers Manufacturing Company, a partnership of 5 brothers that started 9 years before Abraham Lincoln went to Washington and continued until 1911. Those were the horse and buggy days. But gentlemen, they were great days. They saw an empire of free men bestride this continent. Then came the motor car. As early as 1899, Studebaker was experimenting with the horseless carriage, as it was first called. In 1902, Studebaker produced its first automobile. In 1911, the Studebaker Corporation was organized and succeeded to the business of the Studebaker Brothers Manufacturing Company. That corporation built and sold 1.5 million Studebaker automobiles, fine cars that were a testimonial to the integrity of both management and men. The company paid its stockholders over $100 million in dividends. It gave opportunity to thousands of Studebaker men throughout the world. When trials and tribulations beset Studebaker in 1933, Studebaker had a priceless asset in the loyalty of Studebaker men and women throughout the world. It was invisible on the balance sheet, but it was invincible in action. The new Studebaker Corporation started business March 9, 1935. Since then, it has made history. You have helped write it. I have been on the sidelines while you have been on the field. I have been a cheering spectator. Let me tell you what I have seen in these last 4 short years. I have seen the prestige of the Studebaker car rise from the low tide of 4 years ago until today it is world famed for the smartness of its style, the reliability and economy of its operation, and the integrity of its innards. Studi has it, or oomph. Mr. Hoffman tells me that an independent research organization rates Studebaker car owners as the best satisfied car owners in America. I have seen Studebaker freewheel through the past 4 years beset with labor difficulties without a major disturbance of any character, a most significant tribute to Studebaker management and men. I have seen the volume of work pile up to the point where, in the first 6 months of 1939, the Studebaker working force was the best paid group in the automobile industry. I have watched with the keenest interest the steady progress of Studebaker financially. I have seen doubt turn to hope and hope turn to certainty as Studebaker moved to financial strength and security. I am sure that you share with me the thrill that comes from hearing bankers and investors say, Studi is over the hill. 4 years ago, you dealers had your greatest battle with the indifference of the public. How all that has changed. Since the advent of the champion, Studebaker has become the most talked of car of the nation. And it isn't the champion alone that makes men talk. It is the courage that Studebaker men have shown in investing $4.5 million in a program of expansion. When too many businessmen were waiting for things to happen, Studebaker made them happen. It challenged the dominance of the big three in the low-priced field, not by offering just another motor car, but a champion in fact as well as in name. Nothing excites the interest of the public more than a good fight and a gallant fighter. It is no exaggeration to say that millions of Americans have been thrilled by Studebaker's challenge to the giants of the industry. The most gratifying part of this great and new success is that it is a start and not a finish. The best is yet to be. Great things are in store for all Studebaker dealers who catch the spirit of the pacemakers. My friend Keller tells me that there are a few Studebaker dealers who are in first place in sales in their home communities, that there are hundreds who in the months of May, June, and July were in 5th place or better. He points out that even 5th place means 250,000 cars annually, and that if even half of Studebaker dealers reach this position in sales, it'll mean 150,000 cars. I congratulate you dealers who have already shown what can be done. I urge all others to catch the Studebaker spirit, and instead of waiting for things to happen, to go back and make them happen and happen fast. We must make our own system work, and that requires work. It is our responsibility to sell more cars and better cars to more people. This puts more men to work, buys more raw materials, takes men off the relief rolls, puts them on the payrolls, and reduces taxes. Personal liberty and opportunity can be maintained, provided only that there is an acceptance of individual responsibility. It is your job, not only for your own sake or for the sake of Studebaker, but for the sake of America as well, to think hard and work hard and to fight as you've never fought before to sell more Studebaker motor cars. Do that job and do it well. And the men who make them at South Bend and the thousands of workmen in the fabrication of Studebaker parts everywhere will have no time for Hitler or Stalin. We cannot loaf or spend our way out of our present difficulties. We can and must work our way out and thus prove that the United States of America is still the world's champion country.